If somebody isn't getting the result they want, then the person they are isn't the person to get that result. Like, you fundamentally have to change the person to change the outcome.
Right.
And a lot of people struggle with that idea that if the outcome I'm getting isn't what I want, we're so, there's so many things attached to our identity, and we're so locked in that we have a hard time reinventing who we are in that sense. And so from the outside looking in, how would you explain to somebody how to reinvent themselves, right?
Yeah, so there's so much wisdom in what you just said, right? Have you ever heard people say, like, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again? And yet you're exactly right. People see it, they're not achieving a certain result, and they don't want to do the work, or they're afraid to even consider that there might be something fundamentally flawed with them as a person right now. So then they try to externalize it and find blame somewhere else. That's why everybody hates their boss, right? Because their boss is always the one holding them back. The boss isn't the one holding you back. The boss may be a contributing factor in the fact that you're not hitting the result, but it's not the only factor, right? And the boss is a manageable factor once you're willing to do the work on yourself. One of the things that CIA teaches us is that we have these skills or preferences, right, that we're born with, that we are not born with, but they're developed in us when we're very young. We don't even realize they're happening, right? For some people, they're really good at problem solving. For some people, it's a creative vision. For some people, it's a desire for learning, whatever it might be. And we don't value them because they're so natural to us, right? My son is really good with color. He can look at a picture and then take a blank sheet of paper and he can recreate the same shades and colors and palettes and everything, right? He doesn't even realize it's impressive. He's 9. I look at it, I can look at a picture of Superman, and then I can have a black and white picture of Superman, and I cannot remember what part of the suit is red, white, blue, or yellow. I just know they're in there, but I don't know where they go. I have to reference back and forth. It's super hard for me, right? When you don't value the talent that you have, you tend to throw it away. But then what happens as you get older, that talent, even though you don't value it, it keeps coming back to you, right? And then you get it again. You're good at speaking. Well, what's that going to be? That doesn't help me that doesn't help me in algebra right now in 10th grade. So whatever. And then it comes back and it hits you in the chest or it hits you in the forehead when you're in 12th grade. And you're like, I'm good at speaking. Well, that doesn't get me a date to prom, so you throw it away. And then it comes back and hits you when you're 19 years old. And you're like, you just keep throwing these talents away, but they keep coming back because they're ingrained in you, right? It's what you're good at. You can't throw it away. It's wired into you. So CIA teaches us that you have to trust those talents and recognize those talents are essentially your competitive advantage in the game of intelligence. Because the game of intelligence is just the game of life with higher stakes. You're not just making friends to make friends. Now you're making friends to steal secrets, right? You're not just going for a walk to the grocery store. You're going for a walk to the grocery store if somebody's following you. So it's just higher stakes. But you learn how to become the highest version of yourself when you embrace these talents that you've been devaluing your whole life. And then you start taking them on and owning them. So a lot of times, to get back to your point, fundamentally changing yourself often just starts with accepting what you're good at. And instead of devaluing it because you think everybody's good at it, guess what? Not everybody's good at everything. Not everybody is good at the same thing you're good at. So let yourself be good at it. That will fundamentally shift you, which will fundamentally shift the result. You're good at 2 or 3 things, own it. It's going to change the result, right? We worry that changing ourselves is a lot of work, not realizing that sometimes it doesn't take a lot of work at all to experiment with the way that you're naturally wired. Just let it happen.
And so what if the things that you're good at don't fit into the situation you're in?
I think that's a valid concern, because oftentimes the situation that we're in is a situation that we've been led to, right? Other people have driven us to the place that we're at. Mom and dad drive you to college. They encourage you to get a degree that's in the hard sciences so that you get a responsible job, so that you do whatever. Like, I'm sure you remember, everybody had advice for you when you were going to school, or everybody had advice to you when you were getting your first job, right? For my wife, it was her grandmother and her mother insisting that she got a degree in accounting. Just become an accountant. You'll always have a job. You'll always have a good salary. You'll always be in need, right? So there's plenty of clients that I have now who come from financial backgrounds. They're investors, or they ran investment portfolios. They're accountants. They're CFOs, and they're miserable. But they did what other people told them to do, and now they're professionals and really skilled in this job that they just don't like, right? It's not fulfilling. It's not challenging. It's the same thing, literally, because numbers never change, week in and week out, day in and day out, right? So they can't shift themselves to love where they are, because it's a completely different target. Where they actually want to be is somewhere else. When they shift who they are, they will get where they want to be. Now, does that mean that they have to leave behind everything they built? Absolutely not, right? Do you remember ever being in a bad relationship, like having a girlfriend?
Yeah, for sure.
Guys we answer yes so fast, right? So you all remember.
I can see her face.
I'm sorry to be the one to bring it up right now.
No, I mean, I'm to blame more than she is now. You know, looking back, it was more me than it was her.
But inevitably what happens, especially when we're young, we're dating the wrong person. So what do we do when we break up? We date someone who's the total opposite of the person we just broke up with, right? That doesn't make any logical sense if you think about it. You were dating this first person for a reason. There was more about them that you liked than what you didn't like. So really, if you compare it to like shooting a gun, you're just 5 or 10 degrees off of the target. But instead, when we break up, we become so emotionally invested that we're like, I gotta go in the complete opposite direction. So the same thing happens when we try to reinvent ourselves. We're like, oh my gosh, I'm an accountant. Oh my gosh, I'm a CFO of a $5 million business. What have I done with my life? I need to go back to ground zero. I need to reset everything and start all over again. And I'm gonna go become a monk, or I'm gonna go volunteer myself to, whatever. It's what I tried to do when I left the military. I tried to go into the Peace Corps to go 180 degrees different, right? What I didn't realize, and what many people don't realize, is you're already 90% of where you wanna be. You just may not wanna be the CFO of a $5 million company. But all that education and experience that you developed, you can become an entrepreneur on your own. You can become an advisor, a strategic advisor. You can become a consultant. There's all sorts of places that you can go where you now leverage the skills that you've developed and leverage the natural talent you already had.
Thanks so much for watching this clip of Service Driver Revolution. We're uploading new stuff every day, so make sure you subscribe and click the bell icon so you don't miss out. If you have a question you'd like us to answer on the show, call 8333-ASK-SDR and we'll answer your question on the show. That's 8333-ASK-SDR. For special deals on our books and training, head over to offers.chriscollinsinc.com. Now that's offers.chriscollinsinc.com. I'm Chris Collins, and I'll see you in the next video.